Greetings. I'm going to make a series of short videos. They'll be random in nature, but they'll have this common theme, simply sharing spiritual treasures, Christian treasures, to stir our souls and just to stir our minds and call us to remembrance about things that are pure and lovely and heavenly, to set our minds on the things of Christ, really. So that's that. So while there'll be variety to it, that will be the basic theme. So Pastor Alistair Begg said that Christian education isn't completed without reading the 2-volume set biography of Dr. Martyn Lloyd Jones, written by Ieuan Murray, published by Banner of Truth, and I completely agree. This particular copy here is actually signed by Ieuan Murray back in 1982. So I'm not the original owner of this particular version. When I read the biographies, it took me about a year to read 2 volumes, and my wife says it's the year the doctor moved in with us, which was just a great joy for me personally to share with her all the things I was learning. And there were just things that God would impress upon me, things that would get my attention. So look here, as the doctor's about to leave medical school and medical profession and become a full-time pastor in a little town called Aberfan Wells, he writes a letter to his dear friend Ieuan Phillips, and it says here, "Our partnership is about to commence, Ieuan. Let the forces of hell beware." So a couple things. First off, who's Ieuan Phillips? Well, the Phillips family has a rich history of Christian faith. Great preachers of the past. God used them in times of revival. And Ieuan is also the brother of Beth Ann Phillips, who would become the doctor's wife. And Ieuan and the doctor were very close friends, really throughout their entire lives, while they may not always been together, just because of the demands of the ministry. But the doctor's grandson, in a particular book, looking at the life of the doctor, more on the family side, when Ieuan passed away in 1969, after the funeral, as they were sitting down having dinner together, the doctor was with Ieuan's wife, Lynn, as I recall, and he had a short Welsh prayer, and then he just broke down and cried and said he lost his best friend. That's how close these 2 gentlemen were. And I found this statement, so one is, who is Ieuan, was the first thing that was impressed, and then what a bold statement, let the forces of hell beware. Now, so these 2 had a partnership. They were, foot soldiers together in the gospel ministry. Like Paul has Barnabas, Timothy has Paul, John and Peter together, Hal Harrison and Daniel Rowland, right? They were foot soldiers together to advance God's kingdom. And they had commitments to one another. So on page 199, you can see a list of ministers here who were meeting, and they were getting together. One, that they were going to pledge to one another to meet regularly and to share frankly their thoughts and experiences, paying close attention to the confession of their faults and failures even. So they wanted to be very honest with one another. They understood and took seriously the calling that God had put upon them. Number 2, that they pledged to abstain from any practice that's not of faith, for whatever is not of faith is sin. They pledged to pray 30 minutes a day, a revival of religion, and for one another. That while they accept and subscribe to the brief declaration of the Presbyterian Church of Wales, they wanted to emphasize 3 points. One is a call for decision, conversion, and rebirth. Number 2, that all believers should have a full assurance of forgiveness and salvation. Again, that's a very Welsh Calvinistic Methodist trait, is don't just simply stop at salvation, but achieve the full assurance of salvation. Number 3, that all believers to be taught and instructed, that is the will of God, that they may be sanctified, that they receive the Holy Spirit, that the fruit of the Spirit may be manifested in their lives, Galatians 5:22. Number 5, that the churches to be cleansed from all worldly and doubtful means of maintaining the cause, such as bazaars, concerts, etc. So the seeker-friendly movement, philosophy, is not new. Liberalism has even back in 1927, 1928 had already seeped into the church, and that they were going to meet regularly, and the next meeting would be Friday, April 10th, 1931. So they had strong bonds, and they were committed to one another. Well, I wanted to find out more about Ieuan Phillips, and I was able to come to know a pastor who was very much involved in like the Welsh revivals. And I told him about my interest in wanting to learn more about Ieuan, and some time had gone by, and there was an estate sale, and these things came from that estate sale. So this is Ieuan's personal calendar, if you will. It kind of a diary, and but the diary is more about, here are the things that he's doing. He'll share his thoughts and feelings about things, but it's more about, here's what I'm doing today kind of thing. You see his business card. Here's a picture of the family. And what you have here is in the center is Beth Ann, and that's Dr. Martyn Lloyd Jones' wife. Ieuan is right here. I believe, this is their Beth Ann's brother, and I believe his name is Thomas, if I remember correctly. And then this is their grandfather, the famous Reverend Ieuan Phillips, with their grandmother right there, and her name escapes me. And this picture is from August 1940. So you see Ieuan's business card. You see that he's become the superintendent of the forward movement within the Presbyterian Church of Wales. And so you can see that. And yeah, they like to document the things that they were doing. And so this is sweet here, and I'm going to read it to you. It says here, it's about Ieuan is going to go with the doctor to an afternoon service. And it said, okay, right here. The congregation not packed. He preached magnificently of Philippians 1:6. And then home for tea, lots of tea. So almost every day mentions tea without a doubt. And then says here, chapel crammed to suffocation, right there. Crammed to suffocation in the night. Commence service. I don't know how Martyn preached in the heat. Yeah. I don't know how Martyn preached in the heat, but preach he did. Terrific. Romans 2:10. Zeal without knowledge. Came home. No one came in, so we had an evening together. Isn't that sweet? We had the evening together. So when you read Ieuan's diary, here's what you always get. If Ieuan's wife, like I said, or I believe her name was Lynn, but so if it was going to be Ieuan and Lynn and Beth Ann and Martyn, they're almost like school kids where they're going to be together and they're going to be up all night just talking. Or if it's Martyn and Ieuan, then they're going to be up all night talking. If it's Beth Ann, just Beth Ann by herself, well, they're going to be up all night talking. They really enjoyed each other's company. And this just highlights the value of a Christian fellowship. Now, while Ieuan had, and he was used in a mighty way, in my opinion, by God, it was Dr. Martyn Lloyd Jones that was the well-known one. Well, in the 4 or 5 diaries that I have of Ieuan, did he ever have an unkind thing to say about the doctor? And the answer is no. No sign of jealousy, just joy, just absolute joy of their friendship and partnership together. And Ieuan really admired how God used the doctor, how the doctor preached with such authority and clarity and illumination, and brought things out from the scriptures that most would not even think about. The doctor, again, is not inventing new things or anything of that nature, but like when you look at the Romans series, the doctor is preaching like 26 sermons on average for every chapter. So he's really just kind of like if you were to take a wet rag and you said, I want to get every drop out of this wet rag, and you would just wring it and wring it and wring it. And that's how the doctor would preach. But again, I just think it's just terrific. I love the fact that, Not a large crowd in the afternoon, but to the point of suffocation by that night, because word got around. And in both services, the doctor preached magnificently, and they spent the night talking together. Well, now here's another one. This is Dr. Martyn Lloyd Jones preaching in Preachers. Now, this is probably the one that everyone would love to have, and I love having it, but it's signed by Dr. Martyn Lloyd Jones, November 19th, 1975. So you can listen to these sermons online, by the way, at the Dr. Martyn Lloyd Jones Trust. But, I mean, if you wanted to have a book signed by the doctor, well, this is definitely the one to have signed. But what I want to show you, it's like David Martyn Lloyd Jones, right? Okay, see that? And the doctor wrote like a doctor, right? Like a medical doctor. But now this book is also signed by the doctor. It's one of the first books that he published. And it's called Truth, Unchanging. Okay? But look up here. I don't read Welsh, but my understanding, this is to Ieuan, and I know that, Ieuan Phillips. It was 1957, it looks like. And look here, it's signed Martyn. See that? Just signed Martyn, right? So to the general public, he's known as Dr. Martyn Lloyd Jones, but when he's giving a book to his best friend, because this was part of the estate sale, it's just Martyn. It's just Martyn. So what's the thing about this? Isn't it wonderful to have good Christian friends, right? We all need to have solid friends, like Christian had hopeful in Pilgrim's Progress, and then Christian had faithful. Well, we need our hopefuls and Christians in our pilgrimage as well. And there'll be more, again, I'll share on the relationship between Reverend Ieuan Phillips and Dr. Martyn Lloyd Jones, but I think that will be it for this video. Again, I hope you found it to be, sweet. I hope you found it to be a sense of encouragement to you. And again, just the value of good Christian friends. Well, God bless.